There we go. So this is going to be our our concept. I like to keep a picture up for us to look upon to reflect what is going to be upcoming in our conversation. As in this first part of our workshop tonight, we are going to go over character types. And we're doing that here and now because it is going to set us up. It is going to set us up for not only our NPC exercise that is going to follow, we can use the same lessons for the more detailed everyone else in the party. And you'll notice that we've made our villain. Next, we're actually going to be making NPCs, and the villain is an NPC. In role-playing terms, of course, in a narrative. I mean, everyone kind of is. And then we're going to make the other members of the heroic party. But we're not at the hero yet. The hero is the last character that we are going to put together for this exercise. And yep, so here we have Uncle Iroh from some obscure cartoon that probably none of you have watched. Sharing tea with a fascinating stranger is one of life's true delights. Sharing tea with a fascinating stranger is one of life's true delights. And if we were to look upon this character, you might say, you know what? Look at this kindly old man. He seems so much at peace, very gentle. This man would not hurt a fly. The closest he might come would be like Mr. Miyagi from The Karate Kid. Maybe catch it with chopsticks and then let it go, right? I mean, look, Iroh is a man of inner peace. A man of wisdom and delight, and clearly not a tyrannical warlord with, a bend on, just conquering nations. I'm glad that I'm glad that she did like the series, Miller. Of course, I'm being at least slightly satirical. Yep, that is correct. Just because a person is skilled at peace does not mean they are incapable of war. Hi, Rosewolf. Rosewolf, we were just saying that based on the appearance of this character, we have a man of peace, of a gentle hand, and someone who would never hurt anyone else, ever. So yes, it is a popular character, a very well-known one, and many of you might call me out for the blatant lie that I just told. With the caveat of it depends on when we know this character. When do we get to know Uncle Iroh? And Uncle Iroh is going to, for many of you, probably invoke vivid memories of him as a character or his part in a story. He might have stood out in other ways. pardon, in other ways to you all. And this is our springboard into the topic of types of characters that you will find in a story. And I know we got all that lame, like, we gotta, this is gross. I'm on Twitch. I'm here for epic gamer moments, not for literary lectures. You know, can't we just pwn the noobs? Which isn't even said anymore. Such is the way that things have been so outdated. But Uncle Iroh, let's tuck you away for now, my friend. Of course, this I'm not in conjunction, but this is an extension of our NaNoWriMo National Novel Writing Month workshop. Go give it a look. Whether or not you do anything with the official organization, that's up to you. But if nothing else, it's a good prompt to say, you know what? All this year, I've gone through, you know, I've had adventures, ups and downs, and all arounds. Maybe it's time that I sit down and I get that story that I've had in my heart out on paper, digital or otherwise. That's something that Dark Wolf she's been trying to accomplish here this month, and hopefully over the course of the workshop series, whether here live on Twitch right now or in the future. Hello, YouTube. I see you out there in the future from the present, which will be your past. Thank you for joining us, and I hope that this has been inspirational, explanatory, and might set you down a path of writing up something, a short story, a draft for a comic you've always wanted to make. Or if nothing else, maybe I have opened up a couple rabbit holes for you to fall down into and through as you do more research into literature, into writing, as you are continually working to improve your own skills of expressing yourself with the written word. Oh, I hope that the brain juices will be working for you then, DW. And if there's any way that this workshop or through the conversations that we have here can keep your neurons firing, awesome. Now, we are going to be building NPCs, non-player characters, in role-playing terms. These would be background characters. The characters that inhabit the world and do play important parts, though they may not be the focus of the action of the story. And there are a few different types of characters. And yes, we're building NPCs, but these terms can be used to describe our hero, our villain, etc. It's just a good lesson to put before writing a plethora of these more background style characters. Round versus flat characters. And no, I'm not talking about your favorite fan artist that you might commission on Twitter. Not that type of characterization, not the illustrated variety of characters, but also hi, Bane. So what are these two types of characters? Characters in a novel, short story, play, or film can be either round or flat. A round character is nuanced and well thought out. They usually play an important role in the story. They are written specifically so audiences can pay attention to them for a specific reason. Flat characters, on the other hand, are more like window dressing. They are two-dimensional and lack nuance. Their purpose in a story is usually perfunctory. A round character is deep, and layered in is a deep. Let me start over. I swear I can speak English. A round character is deep and I actually no. I was going to say it correctly. I guess it's a mistype on the site. A round character is a deep and layered character in a story. Round characters are interesting to audiences because they feel like real people. Audiences often feel invested in these characters' goals, successes, failures, strengths, and weaknesses. Round characters are fully realized characters that come into conflict with each other and other characters in believable ways, spurring character development. One literary term often confused with round character is dynamic character, and while they both go hand in hand, they are different concepts. While a round character is a character with a complex personality, a dynamic character is one that changes throughout the course of the story. And we'll get to that not now. Just as we've seen overlap with the usage or terms of antagonist, villain, foil, etc., all the different archetypes. Hence, a character can be both round, interesting, and dynamic, changed. Examples of famous characters in literature, or round character in literature, include Elizabeth Bennet in Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice, and Jay Gatsby in F. Scott Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby. Writing a round character can be tough. It's difficult to build a complex character with layers and depth. Use the following tips and tricks to help get you started. Motivation is revealed in the choices someone makes. The harder the choices, the more possibilities you have to reveal the character's deepest nature. In choosing between good and evil, people will always choose what they perceive to be good. You must know your character's mind in order to understand their beliefs and how they will justify their actions, even cruel ones. Conflict is essential for developing a character. If nothing is at stake, then a person's choices don't matter very much, and the audience will begin to lose interest. And 4, a round character should evolve. Ideally, your story should increase the conflict for your character so that their choices and responses evolve throughout. Oh, you're naming the Wolf Queen character, Queen Belladonna. What was the inspiration for that Dark Wolf? Now, what about a flat character? A flat character is a two-dimensional character lacking depth or a real personality. Usually, flat characters have just one or two perfunctory traits, often considered stock characters. Flat characters can often be summarized in one word, like bully or love interest, and never digress from nor transcend their role. A good story is never made up of mostly flat characters. A good story needs to have balance of round and flat characters. Flat characters still need to serve a specific purpose to propel the story forward in some way. Flat characters are often confused with static characters, and while they are related, they are different concepts. Where a flat character is one that is two-dimensional, a static character is one that doesn't change throughout the course of the story. Most flat, so uncomplex characters are static, unchanged by the end of the story, but not all static characters are flat. Examples of flat characters in literature include Crabbe and Goyle in J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter series, and Elizabeth Proctor in Arthur Miller's The Crucible. Now, what is the purpose of flat characters? While unintentionally, flat characters can be evidence of weak writing, there are still reasons for good writers to write flat characters. They're useful in plot-heavy narratives. In stories where the plot is the main focus, such as science fiction narratives, deep character backstories can get in the way of plot details. To help guide readers through the story, writers of plot heavy narratives can opt for flat characters to let the narrative take center stage. As, oh, hey, here's a term that we've used before, as foil characters for round characters. And what did we talk about in that? Where the concept of foiling was a metal sheet, a thin metal sheet, put behind a gem to make it sparkle even more. Pardon. A foil character is a type of character that embodies the opposite traits of another character, thereby strengthening audiences' opinions of both characters. A flat character interacting with a round character will act as a foil, whose flatness will reinforce to audiences the impressive depth of the round character. Somewhat like red shirts. Not all the time, but a red shirt. So by having a throwaway red shirt character, that is a way for you to express danger without, upcoming danger or that there is a true tragedy ahead. As a non-consequential, inconsequential ensign was the one that got zapped on the away mission. The flat character. Somebody asked for directions. Possibly yes, Miller. Though hopefully, if you're writing a story, just having someone, even a quick contact, ask for directions is not wasted. Flat characters live in apartments. Round characters can slow the party down during overland travel. Think of it this way, Miller. You've seen Avatar: The Last Airbender. Here is a good example of a flat character. Cabbage cart guy. Now, why does the cabbage salesman exist in Avatar: The Last Airbender? And Miller or anyone else out there, you can answer. But why was the cabbage salesman created and show up not only one time? Comedic relief, okay. That is true. Yeah, so comedic relief, a running joke. There's more that is in addition to the story, yes. It's already kind of lighthearted, so I don't know if the comedic relief is, is the same as if it was a very tense story or one filled with horror. Exposition. There is some exposition that you can glean. For instance, this world that has flying bison also has what? Cabbages. Now, they're not some sort of strange fusion type of cabbage. It's a cabbage sold out of a cart. This one character, while a flat character, is able to act as a representative of commerce, of what people eat, of what grows in this world, and does have a literary function of being comedic relief too. Yes, but there's a lot of storytelling that is done through this character who is a memorable character. Despite being a flat character, the cabbage guy is a very well-known character. Just like when we're exploring our villain tier list, way more people are going to recognize the Joker, despite him being a meh tier villain on the list, than Mr. Freeze, who is a lot more compelling of a villain. Darkwolf says, so in BG3, you can encounter a cabbage seller, and if you're a monk, he'll notice and tell you to stay away from the cabbages. He has an outside view of the story, like the ramen guy in Naruto. He saw the entire storyline just in his shop. Yeah, so you get a lot of world building, and he serves a very good function. This simple cabbage seller is doing a lot to help the story proceed, continue, give us cues and clues as to the aspects of the society in which we found ourselves in this fantasy world. So here, is it plot heavy? There's definitely things going on in Avatar, or in other examples I'm sure you could think of, as foil characters. To communicate a moral or morals. Fairy tales and fables like The Little Red Hen employ flat characters to great effect. These stories are primarily concerned with illustrating a clear moral point without character details getting in the way. They're simple, you can understand them, and you can see that the world, you can see the world from different points of view around this monolithic entity within it. And, as you all pointed out, for comedic effect, flat characters aren't easy to take seriously because audiences can't relate to them. But when they're written to be funny, audiences can enjoy laughing at a flat character's one-dimensionality. Flat characters work especially well for quick comedic sketches, where a deep character backstory would only detract from the jokes. And here are some tips for writing them, with some traits. Effectively, what is the one, maybe two things they represent? This is just it's a flat character. It's a cardboard cutout. It's a stand-in. It's something in the background. The differences between round and flat characters. It's just down to complexity. So a flat character, a man who is a funeral home director. A round character, a man who became a funeral home director because his wife's funeral was ruined, so he wants to make sure others have a better experience. A flat character, a young girl who loves her teddy bear. A round character, a young girl who takes her teddy bear with her everywhere because it was a gift from her recently deceased older brother. A flat character, a high school student who doesn't know how to swim. A round character, a high school student who doesn't know how to swim because he saw a shark in the ocean when he was young and now refuses to touch the water. So there's a few examples there. There's a few other places. Like I brought up Britannica. This is a very abbreviated look, but if you're looking for a website that through which you can tumble through many rabbit holes, Britannica. You can use Wikipedia. Remember, never use Wikipedia as a primary source. You can reference it, but don't use it as a primary source. Let it launch you into other directions. Just to be careful, right? Just to be safe. Now, what about those other terms that we heard? Oh, what were they? So if we have flat and round, and not short round, that is a character. Short round is a character. But those are not the character types. We're looking at what? Static and dynamic characters. So let's look at another reference. A good story needs to be full of great characters. Understanding your characters and their role in your novel can make all the difference. One of the things to consider is whether your characters should be dynamic or static. In this article, I will be exploring the difference between a static character and a dynamic character, explaining how to use both in your story and looking at some dynamic and static character examples. A static character is one that doesn't change throughout the telling of the story, whereas dynamic characters are the opposite. They undergo significant internal and/or external changes. By the end of the story, dynamic characters are very different from how they were at the start. Another thing to remember about static and dynamic characters is that whichever one they are is no reflection on how well they are drawn on the page, nor their importance in the story. Unlike flat and rounded characters, one lacks depth versus those that are better developed. Static and dynamic characters should both be well developed in order to add balance and intrigue to your storytelling. And that's where we got in our villain list to like the Elder God tier. In fact, the I would say that Ozymandias, the symbol of the Elder God tier villain, is a static character. Static, but in round ultimately. But perhaps as you may come to know him, he might even be more of a static and almost two-dimensional. It's just that you do get to know enough that it really becomes compelling. So, character or plot. Most books are either about normal people doing incredible things or incredible people doing normal things. Very rarely will you find an engaging book that's about a normal person doing normal things. That's boring. That's the life we're already living. Why do I mention this? Because when it comes to deciding whether your character is going to be static or dynamic, you need to ask yourself whether they are the point of the story, or if the focus on the adventure they're about to embark on. Not every character or protagonist needs to change by the end of the story. Not everyone can get the spotlight. Not everyone can be featured. If your book is centered around the lessons your hero learns along the way, then that normal character becomes an interesting character, and we're drawn in by both the plot action and the MC's, that's the main character, the MC's internal journey. But often, an author will write static characters that don't change at all by the end. And that's also okay because the story was never about them per se, but about the adventure they were on and the world they inhabited within that story. Let's take a look at static characters in more detail, along with some examples. So what is a static character? A character that doesn't change throughout the story. They don't grow as a person, start off scared and get braver at the end. They don't learn anything new. True love was right in front of them all along, and are not perceived differently by others, from a lowly no one to returning home a hero. Listen, your hero can still have a rollickingly great time. It just doesn't change them fundamentally in any great way. Things to remember about static characters. Not all static characters are flat characters. Not all static characters are boring, and not all static characters lack a personality. So, here are some examples. Alice in Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. When Alice falls down the rabbit hole, the reader's focus is solely on the completely bonkers world she has stumbled upon and its equally bonkers characters. Alice learns nothing about herself on her adventures. She is exactly the same girl at the end of the story as she was at the beginning, but the fun is had by joining her on the discovery of the crazy world she's been trying to escape. James Bond, Scar from The Lion King, Sherlock Holmes, and Disney princesses. The other static characters include many of the older Disney princesses. And you can read the article if you want to go more in depth, but here are various examples. So what about a dynamic character? Remember, these are characters that do change over the course of the story. Ebenezer Scrooge in Dickens's A Christmas Carol. Juliet in Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. John McClane in the Christmas movie Die Hard. Katniss Everdeen in The Hunger Games. Hi, Coffee Cat. Welcome. Do we need both dynamic and static characters? Well, you can't have every single type in your novel growing and changing. Um, Character development's important, but remember, not everyone can be featured. Not everyone gets the spotlight. And here are tips in writing interesting characters. If you're going to write a static character, make them rounded, give them a foil, focus on the adventure. Dynamic characters, give them a problem to solve, make it difficult for them, and be original. So, pardon. One more review. Just to shore things up, and then we're going to move into our examples. Writers have countless different ways to categorize fictional characters. There are heroes. Oh, actually, I'm sorry, I forgot the link, so you all can go along with me here. There are heroes versus villains, round characters versus flat characters, and major characters versus minor characters, just to name a few. One particularly useful categorization is static versus dynamic characters. Understanding this core difference can help you study character development and bring your characters to life. So what's the difference between static and dynamic characters? The short answer is that if a character changes throughout the story, they're a dynamic character. If they maintain the same personality and worldview throughout the story, they're a static character. Now we can see here, and so this is a different source backing up some similar concepts. We see Sherlock Holmes listed again. How about, there's Alice in Alice in Wonderland. Now, how about for any of you who've read To Kill a Mockingbird, Atticus Finch? Or, if you've read Harry Potter, Professor McGonagall. Would you agree that these are static characters? They are not changed over the course of their stories. And yet, these are popular characters. These are well-known characters. They're characters people like or who have tried to emulate in some way. Now, there's examples to explain some of them. Again, you can go into it. Now, what about dynamic characters? Well, there we go. Ebenezer Scrooge. And let's go back to Kill a Mockingbird. Whereas we had Atticus Finch. What about Scout Finch? Or if Harry Potter is something more recent or memorable for you, if Professor McGonagall is a static character, would you agree that Neville Longbottom is a dynamic character? Does Neville grow and change over the course of the story? Or, if you're familiar with Anne of the Green Gables, Anne Shirley. When Anne Shirley first arrives at Green Gables, she's a homely but lovable 11-year-old orphan. She's garrulous, chattering about everything her active imagination can dream up. She's vain, constantly worrying about her red hair. And she has a terrible temper, even cracking a slate over a classmate's head when he calls her carrots. Throughout the book, Anne grows into a mature young woman. She learns to control her temper, talking things out instead of reacting in anger. She also becomes less vain, focusing more on her studies and her friends than on her red hair. Even after she grows up, however, she still has her joie de vivre, her passionate optimism, and her active imagination, which make her the Anne Shirley that millions of readers know and love. Miller says Neville, yeah, by the end, he was actually a very prominent figure. Yep. And tips for writing the characters are located here as well. Review them. Now, bear in mind, none of these various sources that we've referenced have told you the proper mix of characters. There is not exactly a golden ratio or something like a hard science. Hi, Manchita, good to see you again. Joie de vivre. Although wouldn't that be joy as in like joyeux? Like joyous? I mean, I had 4 years of French in high school, so I could be absolutely whacked out of my gourd for it, but I thought that was joie de vivre. Yeah. Je parle un peu de français. But you'll notice that this doesn't tell you every good story must have bleh. It's going to be up to you as the author to have this mix to make sure that the characters are serving a purpose in the story. And both Uncle Iroh has an important role in the story of Avatar: The Last Airbender, and the Cabbage Guy does too. The Cabbage Guy has a role. The Cabbage Guy is there to help fill out the world. Give us something relatable to keep us involved in a story that maybe we feel a little detached from because of a seriousness, or they're talking about things that might have us stray from what we know in our lives, because it is a fantasy world, and Cabbage Guy can bring us right back into it. Tell us it's okay. Keep going along. All right, Miller, take care. Now, let's take a look at a couple examples. And I would like to get your all's input on whether these characters are static, dynamic, flat, and or round. Now, this we're going to start out pretty easy, all right? We have seen the name mentioned twice. However, we can still have a conversation about this. Now, you may be familiar with this character, at least in passing. Some of you, most of you.
I just wish there was something we could give you.
A gift? A gift for me? Thank you. Thank you. 50 times. And a Merry Christmas.
Here's your turkey, Mr. Scrooge.
Follow me, lad. With a thankful heart, with an endless joy, with a growing family, every girl and boy will be nephew and niece to me.
Nephew and niece to me.
Will bring love, hope, and peace to me.
Love, hope, and peace to me.
Yes, and every night will end, and every day will start with a grateful prayer and a thankful heart. With an open smile and with open doors, I will bid you welcome. What is mine is yours. With a glass raised to toast your health.
With a glass raised to toast your health.
And a promise to share the wealth.
Promise to share the wealth.
I will sail a friendly course, file a friendly chart, on a sea of love and a thankful heart. Life is like a journey. Who knows when it ends? Yes, and if you need to know the measure of a man, you simply count his friends. Stop and look around you. The glory that you see is born again each day. Don't let it slip precious life can be.
All right. Well, the musical continues. I like the I like the quote heretic. We see Ebenezer Scrooge is very much a changed man, and in fact, when we meet him, he's very powerful with the that bah humbug personality that we get to know. He is still memorable as a very flat character. Now, the more we know him, we get to know him, we see his past, that he was a joyous youth, and he fell into this embittered state. He fell into, the miserly condition, and he refound it, he discovered it. It was kindled within him. And uh and so this is a great way of, even in a short story, to see this type of character. And in a way, the dynamic, sure, because he has changed over the course of the story. Um, static for most. I think ultimately dynamic, because not only was it, well, at the very end, you know, I because I can argue that Darth Vader was a round character, but was a static character, despite being one of the most well-known villains, well-liked villains, the most memorable villains of all time. Darth Vader is static, and that's fine. And while at the end, I mean, did he have a change of heart? Yeah, that doesn't really make him dynamic, because we come to learn that he's always really been that way. It's been a sentiment that he's always had. And so he's just this impressive monolithic figure. Now, what about this? Might be a little bit more difficult. I don't know. You tell me the qualities of this character.
Raphael, come sit by me.
Couldn't this wait till morning?
You will listen now.
What type of character is Splinter?
My Master Yoshi's first rule was possess the right thinking. Only then can one receive the gifts of strength, knowledge, and peace. I have tried to channel your anger, Raphael, but more remains. Anger clouds the mind. Turned inward, it is an unconquerable enemy. You are unique among your brothers, for you choose to face this enemy alone. But as you face it, do not forget them, and do not forget me. I am here, my son.
I'm not crying. You're crying. Shut up. You're stupid. Sorry, Master Splinter wouldn't want me to say that. What type of character is Master Splinter? Is he a flat character, a round character, a static character, a dynamic character? Remember, these are not mutually exclusive terms. Manchita says Vader is static, but Anakin Skywalker is dynamic. I wouldn't contest that. Yeah. If we think about now, is Master Splinter like Uncle Iroh? There's similarities. A wise older gentleman of Asiatic descent. Uncle Iroh would be a round character, in my humble opinion. Both a round character and a dynamic character. As he does have a great backstory. He is well developed, and he does change over the course of the story that's told. Master Splinter, and I'm surprised. Oh, we have 22 people and no opinions on Splinter. Interesting. For as much as he is the wise, for as much as he is the wise, father figure to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, he is kind. He is a good guy, right? Splinter is. Hi, Lunar Nightwolf. Good to see you. I would argue that Splinter is. Oh, cool. What are you designing, IMW? If you're at liberty to talk about it. But Splinter, in many ways, like, yeah, we learn his backstory, but he's always really he's been the same forever. He might have changed physically because of the mutagenic ooze, but he's really the same character with the same attitude. And so Splinter, while being a very good guy, a benevolent person, very much like Iroh, would be in opposition to Iroh in the terms of where Uncle Iroh, in my opinion, is a round and dynamic character. Master Splinter is a flat and static character. No less compelling, no less filled with wisdom or exposition, or a character that has love in his heart for his family. But the way they're presented is different. And each has a unique role in their perspective stories, which they are the only ones to fill it. If Splinter were to be a rounder character and a dynamic character, the story would be more about the adventures of Splinter, and the Turtles might be more of a like a squad he sends out, or his backup, or something along those lines. Oh, well, IMW, if you're at liberty of sharing it at any point, in the design or afterwards or printed, I'd love to see it. And so hopefully, at least in my opinion, we have this interesting dynamic between two similar characters in terms of, presentation, but their roles and their stories are at both are polar opposites. Now, what about this example? If you want to talk about any of the Goonies in particular, you may, but more specifically, what about Mouth?
Hey, Mouth, what year was that map made?
Oh, I don't know. Probably a couple hundred years before.
Oh, wow!
President Lincoln, George Washington, Martin Sheen.
Martin
Sheen, that's President Kennedy, you idiot! Same difference. I mean, he played Kennedy once. Oh, that's really smart. I'm glad to know you're using your brain. Yeah, well, at least I have a brain. So stupid, Mouth. Oh, yeah? Yes. Shut up. Wait a minute. This isn't gold. This is a wishing well. Look.
Hey, you guys, look. It must be the old Moss Garden wishing well.
You know, I always used to believe that when you threw your money in, it turned into your wish.
You take no coins, and I'll take 2 coins, and you
No,
don't
that's
take
not fair.
Wait,
All your coins, and you don't get it.
Stop. You can't do this.
Why?
Because these are somebody else's wishes. They're somebody else's dreams. Yeah, but you know what? This one right here. This was my dream, my wish. And it didn't come true. So I'm taking it back. I'm taking them all back.
What would you say about the character of Mouth, or if you want to talk about the Goonies in general, how might you characterize them? Hmm. Would you say that are they static characters? Do any of you out there think that that Mouth in particular or the Goonies overall are static characters? Are they flat characters? Ah, yeah. Not really static, says Mushio. My opinion is that the Goonies are flat, dynamic characters. They change over the course of the movie, but ultimately each of them is a pretty well defined characteristic of or like a representation of something, a concept, a an attitude or something along those lines. So that was my intention on showing this off is we have an example of, again, in my opinion, and maybe yours is different and that's fine, but I would say that the Goonies are flat characters but also dynamic characters. I kind of want to watch the Goonies, everyone. Hmm. I kind of want to watch the Goonies now. Should we have a watch party? A Goonies watch party, everyone? Come on now. Yes, says Mushio. Maybe we can do something over Thanksgiving then. Takes me so long to type and correct myself. Ah, I got your rip artist. All right. Here we go, everyone. Are you ready? You know, for all, I gotta check something real quick. Okay, good. I have no copyright strikes on my channel for all of the examples that I've been giving throughout this workshop. YouTube has gone. I actually had to edit some of the videos. Otherwise, YouTube wouldn't release them to anyone anywhere. But a lot of it I've been able to skirt by without getting in trouble. But I figured, you know what? Well, I'm talking about it. Let's check. All right. Let's talk about. If you want to talk about either character, perfectly fine. My focus is on Samwise, but if you want to talk about Frodo, I think we can do that too. You ready?
Do you remember the Shire, Mr. Frodo? It'll be spring soon. The orchards will be in blossom. And the birds will be nesting in the hazel thicket. And they'll be sowing the summer barley in the lower fields. And eating the first of the strawberries with cream. Do you remember the taste of strawberries? Sam, I can't recall the taste of food. No, the sound of water. Touch of grass. Naked in the dark. There's nothing. No veil between me and the wheel of fire. I can see him with my waking eyes. Then let us be rid of it. Once and for all. Come on, Mr. Frodo. I can't carry it for you. But I can carry you. Come on!
All right. Which kind of character or characteristics would you describe Samwise? And if you want to describe Frodo as well, you absolutely may. Would you say that Samwise is a round character? I mean, he's kind of poorly. Is he a round character? I'm muted. I shouldn't be muted. Is Samwise a round character, a flat character, a dynamic character, and or a static character? How might you describe him? What was his role in the story? And how was he presented throughout the story? Mushio says round and dynamic. And so here we have the not main character. Well, so like Bersilis is kind of touching on it. So Frodo is supposed to be the hero, right? Whether or not he is, but let's say that Frodo is considered to be the hero of Lord of the Rings. This is an example of the not hero, one of the support cast, being a round and dynamic character, which is usually what we would ascribe to the hero. But it works well because if Samwise is a round and dynamic character, how would you describe Frodo? One of your works in progress is centered around the support character to a chosen one. Okay. Yeah, he's more flat, right? He doesn't really have a backstory. And sure, he's determined. That's kind of been thrust upon him. And with the help of his friends, he pushes forward. Frodo is a rather flat character. However, now let's go back to our vocabulary. What does that mean if we're considering Frodo is the hero, the main character, right? The protagonist? Samwise is a what to Frodo? And like I've seen sidekick, yeah, but what's the terms that we've been using? Samwise is a what to Frodo? Heretic, got it. Samwise would be a foil to Frodo. And we did bring up the concept of foil with our discussion on villains and villainy, because often that's the most obvious and direct opposition, where the hero and the villain can reflect off of each other, and go from there. You get the yin-yang effect. Here, we have two protagonistic characters, heroic characters, where we see that foil relationship. They help each other shine. Frodo is a memorable character, can be admired and lauded, and is seen as the main character of The Lord of the Rings. And yet is not a round character. But they complement each other very well. Frodo is a cat, Sam is the laser pointer. Now, in fact, Dark Wolf, it's interesting that you're here, because I had another example to pull up. It is not from I mean, you could say it's from pop culture. Maybe nothing as, non-obscure as Lord of the Rings or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But to showcase and to bring it back to Dungeons and Dragons, I want to show you an example of character types. One of the characters that you'll see, I didn't necessarily have a hand in defining or shaping. The other was left to me to, was malleable. In fact, that character was even made in a workshop. But I want to show you something that actually Dark Wolf made. Now, what you're going to see is Dark Wolf's character from our Chroma Company story is this character here. Her name is Norelai. Is it? Was it ever really? The family name thing, that's a distraction technique. I'm on to you. But here we see Norelai in some sort of a disheveled or a bad state, being carried by her brother Lokiadius. And let's see what happens, because here we have two characters. Let's find out what goes on.
It always seems more quiet in the dark. It always feels so stark. How silence grows under the moon. Constellations gone so soon. I used to think that I was bold. I used to think love would be fun. Now all my stories have been told, except for one. As the stars start to align, I hope you take it as a sign that you'll be okay. Everything will be okay. And if the seven rings collapse, although the day could be my last, you will be okay. When I'm gone, you'll be okay. And when creation goes to die, you can find me in the sky upon the lost day, and you will be
Now, in this scene, we open up with a concerned brother carrying his sister someplace for a reason. And it appears that we have the making of a warlock, as this entity forms a pact with Loki and is unable to affect Norlai. Now, the reasons for that are within the story, and from there, from their troubled past as ne'er do well kids, um, perhaps this was a deal for a better life in some variety. Maybe the older brother didn't want that kind of a life, at least for his sister, and so made a deal. Now, the character of Loki was an NPC in the story for a great long while. Was brought up now and again. Was a B plot in a sense until some things happened and he was no longer. And actually, Darkwolf got to dual box the characters and actually got to play a like a sibling team. And throughout that, as the events were coming to a head, we would come to learn more about Loki, maybe what he's been up to, what he's been thinking, and we reach a particular moment with the two of them.
Make my wish come true, let darkness slip aside, hiding all the hope, marking what we treasure, battles we can win if we believe our souls, hanging for the light till dawn. Fate will not leave you. Hate will not heal you. Pray in one day He shall fall
And what did we see here now? A character with that kind of an untrustworthy reputation had supposedly been a warlock of the big bad evil guy of the story. um as we had come to learn, is this still has that bit of a thieves touch, but was able to return and join the party late in the story to help him out. Maybe that one last good thing. Um, yeah, hey, if you finish it, DW, I'd love to see it. I know it's a project you were working on. Um, and uh, so here we have an NPC in the form of Loki, who, given the definitions, I don't. Would you call him dynamic? I mean, Dark Wolf or anyone else out there, from what you all may know, and if any of you watch Chroma Company, you're welcome to have a nuanced take as well. We have someone with a very mixed background, mixed intentions. Was he ever really good or bad? But that doesn't really matter when it comes to how that character was portrayed, especially when it comes to how he plays off of his sister Norelai, who, in the context of the role playing game, that was up to Darkwolf to present her. Now, usually, a player character in a role playing game would have that spot of a probably a dynamic character and a round character because you flesh out your background and everything. And in order to complement this, because Norlai was um I wonder if Norlai wasn't static in some way. Not that that's a bad thing. She was a very determined and a very, purposeful, like one way forward kind of personality. But the way that her brother, that I had been trying to incorporate him into the story, was to be that unknown quantity to tango with the known quantity. That we have the two that clearly, they love each other. They have been through so much together, and that we learn that uh, he sacrificed himself in the very beginning to this warlock patron entity in order to provide for his sister, in order to try and give her a better life. And he makes this return, and it seems that that work hasn't finished. So it's a bit of a mix, especially because we have an NPC and a PC, and we have characters that are related and relatable. Um, but even if they might not fit a hard definition of those characteristics, there was still a compelling force that the two of them made with each other. Yeah, yeah. I suppose there was that maybe more of a late manifestation, though. Of course, for a while you weren't you weren't Norelai. Norelai went through a couple things also. Everyone, just so you know, watch Chroma Company and you'll find out. Um, but ultimately, whether they had a hard definition or not, what made the dynamic between Loki and Norlai compelling, at least to me, and hopefully my opinion counts for something, was that they played off of each other. And while they were not necessarily in a lockstep, they were headed in a similar direction. And were could almost foil each other in a weird kind of yin yang situation. It took her a while to get there. I agree. Um, and by the way, shout outs to Coffee Cat. I don't know if you're still here, Coffee, but Coffee Cat for the watercolor. Um, so yeah, think about that as you are making your characters and you're writing. Not everyone can have nor needs epic backstories. And it's okay to have strong but simple characters. Batman is a pretty static character. Doesn't really change. I would argue that for as much as Batman is well known and liked and popular, Batman is very two-dimensional, and he doesn't really do anything other than the one thing that he's really good at doing. And that's why we like Batman, right? But we have this heroic character. I mean, you can say anti-hero or something, that's fine. But you have this character who is flat and static, who's one of the most well-known superheroes in existence. So something to think about. Everyone has a particular place in the story. And if too many characters are like each other, you'll lose it. You'll lose the unique, special things. Think about the narrative, what you want to focus on, the characters, the journey, which one's a little bit more, and take it forward. And you'll have many popular characters in your story, even if their only role was to shout, "My cabbages!" a couple times.